Hello, welcome to another episode of Evening Crypto with your host, your boy, the real Shot 256. And tonight, I just want to do a quick recap over our last video, just talking about the charts mainly on crypto, altcoins, mainly Bitcoin. And also, do want to speak to a quick note about another player entering into futures and leverage trading for Bitcoin here as of recent. So let's get into that real quick, and then we'll get into the charts. But first, let's do a quick recap of the market. We're looking at $187 billion overall market cap, while 24-hour volume has spiked up a bit to $70 billion over the last 24 hours. And that has also caused the BTC dominance to drop just slightly. Now, taking a look at the 24-hour volume, we do see it tick up a bit to about 70 billion in the last 24 hours, but most of it, as you've seen, has as you're seeing now, it has been to the downside, right? So there's been an influx of sellers into the market that have mainly caused that a lot of these altcoins take a dip, pretty much all across the board, right? Some are not as harsh, not as bad as others, but we definitely do see that adverse effect in the market, with again more sellers than buyers, and that's just indicative of what we've been talking about in this channel, indicative of a pretty much a bear market, right? Or what seems to be, we're seems to still be on a downtrend, and that is a bearish indicator, right? So keep in mind we are definitely in a downtrend, so it is a lot more difficult unless you are a very skilled, tenured trader. You'll see that is a very difficult time to actually make profits, unless you're just shorting the heck out of Bitcoin and these markets. Then you'd probably be are doing quite all right. Just a reminder to go ahead and follow me on Twitter at the real Shot 256, and follow me there, and definitely give me a shout out. Let me know that you are following. All right, so let's actually get into a quick note here. I thought is worthy of mention here. ErisX, which is now a new Bitcoin dealer in the space, something that has been promised since about October 2018. From last year, we did see several players wanting to come into the space and offer their platform as a place to not only trade on spot, but also on leverage trading. So ErisX, the Wall Street-backed cryptocurrency exchange operator, said in an alert to potential clients today that its market for cryptocurrency futures will kick off on Tuesday. That is tomorrow. Today is Monday the 16th. So tomorrow the 17th, December 17th, we'll see the official kickoff of the ErisX Bitcoin futures platform. So ErisX gate crashed the cryptocurrency exchange world in October 2018, promising a Wall Street grade trading experience for future and spot cryptocurrency trading. Still, ErisX has been quiet for most of the second half of 2019, declining to comment on several occasions over the past few months. The firm, which has courted investors such as Castle Island and Dragonfly Capital Partners, closed a 20 million Series B in April as it opened up its spot market for trading. Rival-backed, meanwhile, has launched several derivatives tied to the Bitcoin market, including a physically delivered future and options contract. We know that as of recent, also back did start to offer its option contract trading. A spokeswoman did not respond to an email requesting specifics about the products being launched tomorrow. Unlike most crypto native exchanges, ErisX hasn't been marketing itself directly to individual traders, but instead has been looking to capture flow from large brokers like TD Ameritrade. But now, since TD Ameritrade has been bought out by Charles Schwab. Conversations actually took a halt, and that's no longer a deal in the works. That just kind of went by the wayside, and that partnership is not going to materialize. So I do think this is noteworthy, as we did see back in ErisX fighting over who would launch their Bitcoin futures trading platform first. But then we did see ErisX run into a little bit of a snag there with the CFTC and regulators, and they were not able to launch their platform promptly as they wanted to back in, I believe, September-ish timeframe of this year. And then we did see Backed actually coming in first place as far as being the first traditional market-backed platform. As we know, Backed is part of the ICE group, who owns the New York Stock Exchange, and they did cross the finish line before anybody else in the space, bringing further legitimacy to the crypto sphere, and also attracting new investors. And hopefully, ErisX will do the same. They will do their part. I'm sure. Obviously, this is great for the space. Although we are on a downtrend and you can't really see the effects of it as of right now, but if you look forward, ErisX has to go out and market to, as they say here, they are trying to market to other big dealers and traders, not just individual retail market traders, but they're going after big guys, big dogs, big bank accounts. So I mean that can only be a positive thing, as these other players start taking money away from traditional markets and bringing them into the crypto space, mainly with Bitcoin. And I'm sure 2020, 2021, and further, we'll start to see other cryptos, maybe such as Ethereum, being traded in the futures market. And maybe hopefully some other, maybe top 10, maybe top 15 coins also be traded. All right, so let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your opinion is on this, whether this is noteworthy or not. Maybe you think this is just another, fly on the wall, or whatever. Definitely let me know. Love to hear your opinion on things. All right, so let's actually get into the chart, and let's start here with traditional markets. Let's talk about the SPY, the S&P 500. I was letting you guys know, in the difference between traditional markets right now and crypto markets. And clearly you see that traditional markets, mainly the S&P we're talking about here, is on a definite uptrend, is on a definite bull market, as we have seen in the last couple of years, since Mr. Trump has actually entered into the office. He's made it his main focal point, and I mean it does show. But I mean, obviously, it's not all tied to politics. It's also tied to market sentiment, and the overall the overall state of the market and the economy. And everybody seems to be bullish on traditional markets, on stocks, and we do see it here reflected on this chart. Setting again, a continuous trend of higher highs, and just setting new records, setting new all-time highs one time after one day or week at a time. And there's just seems like there's not anything in the short time of things to really stop the momentum that we are seeing in traditional markets. So that's just the thing, don't bet against a strong trend like this. And I mean that because mainly, the House of Representatives just pretty much passed and legitimized the claims that Mr. Trump himself is going to be, or the impeachment talks are going to continue further, and there's some say there's a really good possibility that he might get impeached. And regardless of that set of news, we do see that we do see here that the markets have taken no effect to that, have really paid no attention to what's going on politically, and we do see the price of the S&P climbing and climbing, and so have a lot of other stocks, right? We can look at pretty much anything. Let's actually bring up Tesla just for kicks. Um, I mean, look at Tesla also retesting all-time highs as well from this big dip here back when the CFO left the company. It meant really bad news down here. I mean, dropped the price to the tune of about $176. We're now back, or Tesla's now back at $381. But I mean, obviously they've done things to merit the type of bounce from these previous lows to where it is right now to retest all-time highs. But again, it is another testament to the fact that traditional markets are experiencing a very very strong uptrend, a very strong bull run. When is this going to stop? Like I said, I don't see any real end to this anytime soon. As we do we'll take a look at Apple as well. Apple Inc. I mean, look at that. I mean, just almost a eerie similar um, chart when compared to the S&P. Just a very, very strong uptrend. Again, just getting way past the previous all-time high and setting all new records at 279, almost $280. I do think prior in the day it did reach 180, 280. Now that was, I'm sorry, 275 is what we're seeing here. In fact, let's actually, there we go. Yeah, 280 and 79 was the high for today, an all-time high again. And so again, there just seems like there's no end in this trend here for the time being. Um, some say that we will see a correction in Q1 2020. I tend to agree with that at some point in Q1, and that's kind of a broad statement because Q1 does include or does have 3 months, 90 days worth of price action in the chart. So it is a pretty sure thing that we are going to see a correction in these markets, especially as we see, with the impeachment talks and the trade talks. If President Trump does end up getting impeached, then somebody's going to have to come in and kind of pick up the slack. We'll see what policies they bring, which will certainly have an effect on the nature or the status or the sentiment of the market. And then we have to see about the trade talks, which has already been said that China is kind of holding the ball on their court, and although they have sort of agreed to a partial agreement, but according to sources, the trade talks are nowhere near to being completely done. Although there has been some progress made, that could be also the reason why we do see yet again another all-time high on a lot of these stocks and a lot of these markets. So no surprise there. So and then again, even gold has not had a bad week in trading in the last, we'll call it the last 7 to 10 business days. I mean, just kind of bouncing from this pivot low here, kind of staying in the middle right now. But I mean, not having a bad reaction to this. Usually, you'll see as traditional markets again tick up. Gold actually has the adverse action, right? It always acts as a hedge for either side, right? But again, gold holding pretty steady, not letting really go of this posture here, which is pretty positive at this point. As long as we don't lose, say, the 89 exponential here, things are going to look pretty decent. If we do, though, I mean, it probably is going to retest this previous low here at around 136.79, 136.80, and then if we lose that previous low, then we might come back and retest the 200 symbol here. And then if we do see that, then certainly we'll see a bounce from the 200. That might be the local low at that point. And you can bet that gold is going to have a nice little rebound, especially as we see that traditional markets go into the first quarter and start having some sort of correction. Also, just reacting to whatever politics brings and whatever trade talks bring. All right, so we'll wrap up traditional markets with that. Let me know if you want me to look at any specific stocks or cryptos. Leave it down below in the comments. I will make sure to get to them on my next video. All right, guys. So let's actually get started with one of the fancier, to put it in a way, fancier coins as of late, with XTZ, Tesos, and Tether. Since I do trade in Tether, I do want to keep it pretty consistent there. And we do see Tesla's actually having a nice bounce. These two candles are on a daily, pretty much signaling a reversal here. These doji looking candles, and having a nice reaction off of the 30 simple here. It's always a bullish posture when you see things bouncing off of the 30. Because again, the 30 is never going to offer any, a huge deal of resistance or support. So when we do see a bounce off of a 30, and we do see again two indicators. These doji candles here kind of indicating that there's a reversal coming, but then you have a 30 simple here acting as support. Again, at just a very, very bullish posture. If we get above this daily high over here, say what was we closed, or we opened this candle at around $1.77. If we are to break upwards of 177, which we're pretty darn close, we're only about 5 cents away from that. If we are to break above that area there, you betcha, I do think there's room to run to the upside. We'll place this resistance bar right in here just for future reference. If again, if we don't get rejected off of this previous high, then I do think there is opportunity for Tesla to actually make a nice run upwards. I'll actually adjust this just slightly. There we go. So stay tuned. Watch. I mean, I'd be. This is something that I'd be watching. In fact, I have been keeping not too close of an eye, but definitely keeping an eye on it, just to see how it goes, or how it will react. I mean, it's nice to see this this bounce today, as Bitcoin and pretty much everything else has started to take down and have taken a nice little. I mean, a noticeable dip. I'll keep it at that. I don't want to get too bearish. I don't want to get too excited about this dip, because it's really pretty typical for Bitcoin these days, and the markets these days. Not seeing a whole influx of buyers or sellers at all. And if anything, I would say that these markets at this current time are very, very shallow. There's not a whole lot of people trading it. I mean, the reason we ticked up is because we found some sellers that came into the market. But again, there's not a whole lot of activity. Otherwise, not a whole lot of people trading this. I mean, if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart here on the daily, I mean, there's just not a lot of movement, right? As we possibly saw back here, where these levels of trading just spiked up, like we do see here, we do see it here recently, and again, volume is being we are trading under the exponential here on the volume indicator. And so that just tells you, I mean, there's just not enough people trading in. We do see our green candle staying way below, and we do see a dominance of red candles here within the volume indicator. Just tells you that it's a pretty shallow market currently that we are trading, not a whole lot. And you can also see it on the price action. I mean, price action not really moving too much, just staying pretty steady. If we look at the 4-hour, we can actually see that a little closer, and we see that the price action is very gradual, very minimal. I mean, look at this price action here. Look at all of this here. I mean, price just moving very slowly. Not a whole lot of margins. Not even a chance for a scalp, I'd say. And look, if you consider this today's price action, which took the price of Bitcoin downward, not a very significant dip. I mean, let's actually go back here. It's we're down 2.5 in the last 24 hours, 2.5%. That's not anything to be overly worried about or excited about. You know, short term, it does look like it does want to have another retest at short term of things, right? It does look like it's kind of inkling towards having another retest of this bottom area of support, descending line of support here, and hopefully at those levels, people will start to find some buyers at these levels, if that's if that is what is in the cards. However, again, it just looks like this sort of pattern is going to continue to the end of the year, because again, I mean, just looking at this lack of activity, this lack of trading, it just looks like it could potentially just keep on going through the end of the month, and then as people start getting back into the markets, people are busy right now for the holidays, so a lot of people may not even be paying attention or trading this. So if you're into that whole whale theory, I mean, this is just one way to get yourself really wrecked real quick. Otherwise, I mean, just it's just a natural thing, right? There's just not the reality is there's just not a whole lot of traders right now coming into the market to buy or sell. I mean, this could be, I guess, this could be the sell-off in recent, this recent past, right? I mean, it's as good as it gets right now, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So, that being said, again, because of the lack of volume, because of the lack of enthusiasm right now in the market, I do think, there's definitely a possibility that we are going to come back and retest this bottom area of support here, and then hopefully find a bounce from there. As I have been saying to you guys in the last, I don't know, last 2 or 3 videos, I do think we're due for a retest of this previous area, as we are still on this trend, descending channel, descending wedge here, where we have Bitcoin just kind of have a retest of these areas, as we did see here. I mean, we topped off here, retest, 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 and so on and so forth, as well as retesting the bottom several times along the way. And if we are to keep this pattern, then we are to maybe either come back down here, which does look at the moment like that is going to be the next move on Bitcoin's part. We might actually start to grind downwards some more until we retest here and then find a bounce, hopefully at that point, and actually come back and retest this previous some of these previous higher prices, and quite possibly I do think that we're still going to get rejected here. Again, I'm anticipating that we're going to see this really lackluster sort of trading activity, where we're just grinding in the middle, maybe just drooping down a little bit more, making our way down gradually, before we actually find an actual respectable a bounce there, or a move that really gives us more to really look at and talk about. But in the meantime, that's in my opinion, that's kind of what I'm expecting. And if something changes drastically, then again, that is a change in the behavior, or a change in trend. And whether this breaks down or it breaks out, then that is something that we will have to reevaluate at that point. But it just looks like, given the times, it just looks like that is going to be something that we can expect. Now, to keep in mind also, guys, nobody can predict what's going on. I was just doing a little bit of retrospective thinking today about how the year has gone, the lessons that we have learned in these markets for 2019. And one thing we can take away is that definitely these markets are very unpredictable. Again, they're pretty shallow. There's not a whole lot of liquidity. That we're still waiting for bigger pockets and other investors to come in, as we do see other brokers like Backed and ErisX come into the space. That is just going to bring more liquidity, more depth into these markets, and therefore a little bit more sustained price action, a little bit less volatility. But we're talking future. We're not talking here and now. We're definitely talking at the very least a couple more years into the making, as these new platforms are very, very new to the market, and they themselves are still trying to prove themselves and try to attract new customers into their platform. Obviously, they want to be successful. Obviously, they want to be profitable. So they are definitely doing their due diligence to bring new customers into the space, and hopefully people that aren't currently trading in this space, not currently holding any cryptocurrency. Certainly, that will be a huge help if we want to further legitimize the space and bring on bigger and better things for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. All right, so let's actually look at the daily again and kind of finish up here with Bitcoin, and we'll take a look at some other altcoins. The daily is looking pretty extended to the bear side. I mean, the RSI is letting us know that. I mean, it's gone way deep into the bearish territory, and just if we look at recent past, when we do get into that really bearish territory, sometimes we don't get that deep into it, and we do see a nice little bounce, nice reaction off of these lows here, pretty much every time, right? And if we keep going down in the past, I mean, once we get really deep into this, I mean, look at how sharp the correction was when we got this deep as we are currently. Not quite as deep as when we hit this bottom here back in December 2018. That's when we hit the all-time bottom. We did see a all-time bottom in the last 2 years, right, since 2017. We did see a very sharp correction there, and we typically see it. We defended the neutral zone here, having a nice reaction there. Dipped our toes in here, having a nice reaction there. Definitely, got our foot in the water here and had a nice reaction there. The double bottom here, and boom, and then again getting our feet wet here. Once again, having a nice correction right here as well. Let's see, and again, just getting really deep into that bear territory, and always finding a nice reaction off of this. So, for the time being, this does look like, on a daily at least, it does look like things are getting pretty exhausted to the bear sides, or the bears are getting pretty exhausted. Hopefully, that's really what we'll see here. We do see the little sell off here to the tune of about 2.5%. We did not get above the exponential here, so again, there's lack in volume, there's lack in even sellers. I mean, there's obviously more sellers than buyers, but there's a lack of activity even on the bear side, right? Bears were trying to move the price down. They were kind of successful, but it's not, again, nothing to really be overly excited about, right? So hopefully, once we'll have the same reaction as we have done in the past every time that we do get down to those levels. Let's take a look at the weekly now, see how the weekly is looking. Yeah, weekly is also looking pretty bearish here. Try to get it back into the neutral territory, but failed, and is now having another shot at the bear territory. The daily, again, letting us know that we're pretty deep now. Are we going to get this deep? Hopefully not. Because again, that will mean, but taking a look at the weekly, again, volume wise doesn't look too strong of a downtrend, but if we look just by looking at the price action here, it does look like if we take out this previous weekly here, then that is going to be a more of a certainty that we are going to come back down, retest this previous area of support down here at around let's call it about 6250, low 6,000, which will again take the RSI deeper into the bear territory. We're still very far away from closing this candle, as we just opened it yesterday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, and so we do have about 6 days left before we actually close this. But again, if we don't, as long as we maintain this price action here at around 6750, 6700, as long as we don't lose 6700, I think we'll be all right. But again, if we lose if we do see Bitcoin dipping into the 6700s, low 67 to 6600s, then that could be the trigger to set it off and actually come back and reach that 62 or 63, 62 certainly. It will be definitely in the cards, and then we'll reassess from there. All right, but the weekly does have sort of confirming, just a confirming bear trend, at least for the next week or so. All right, again, just pay attention to that. Hopefully, we don't lose the $6,700 mark. All right, let's go down into the shorter time frames. Start looking at this with a closer eye. And again, the 4-hour does indicate that we could potentially see a continuation. The 4-hour is definitely in the bear territory. Had a nice reaction there, but definitely rejected off the 21. And so again, we really want to see these sort of reactions that we do see here. These very sharp reactions anytime that we get into the bear territory. Not as deep as we've seen it, perhaps back here, and perhaps back here. But again, from a lot of standpoints, it does look like we are coming very, very close to a bottom here. We could, and again, as long as we don't lose the $6,700 for one, as we do see here, this previous low was at around 66.50. Again, that as long as we don't lose that pivot there, we should hold here. If not, then that just sparks continuation on the 4-hour as well as what it's telling us. The volume, this looks like a finished move. Hopefully hopefully we start painting some green candles here, which can again signal a reversal, as we are definitely in those territories where Bitcoin will usually have a nice reaction. So hopefully we'll start doing that. These candles, although look pretty weak, they are sort of indicative of a reversal trend, but that is the only indicator we have right now. Nothing else to really back that claim. So I don't want to get too hopeful on this. I really would like to see some green candles down here at the volume indicator above this exponential here, to really start getting hopeful on a possible reversal. But again, on the shorter times, it does look like it maybe it's signaling a reversal. Okay, I'll end it with that there with Bitcoin. Let's actually get into a few altcoins. Let's actually look at XRP real quick. XRP just holding this area of support here, but we did break below this previous pivot point. That's not a good thing. Never a good thing. We're now at 20 cents, which, I mean, we've seen in the past, not recent past, but we've seen it. We've seen these sort of price levels. It's been a while, but we definitely have seen these levels of price action going back to, let's say, December 2017. So, wow, was it December 2017? Really? Yeah, December 7th, 2017. Wow. All right, so there you have it, guys. I mean, the XRP is not looking too hot. Definitely looking like it has more room to go to the downside, further correction. Let's actually look at the daily here real quick and see what the daily is saying. Yeah, there's definitely more room to the downside if it were to keep on going here. If Bitcoin doesn't have a quick reaction and the market follows, I don't think that XRP is going to be the exception. I do think it is going to find its way downwards even more, as it hasn't really gotten into the bear territory. Doesn't mean that it has to, but a lot of times, if we want to find this sort of sharp corrections like we do see here, we do see it here, we definitely want to see those bears getting completely exhausted on XRP before we actually find a bottom and a reversal. Now, if we were to close this candle here way up here, that could possibly trigger a reversal, but it's too soon to say that. It is we just opened up this daily candle, so there's plenty of work to be done here in the next 24 hours if we are to actually talk about a possible reversal, right? And again, as long as the market is down, I don't think the XRP just has it in it to really turn everything else around. This is dangerous territory on Chainlink here. Looking at the daily, we lost the 200 exponential on the daily. that is a really bad sign. And that is a really bad sign. I do think we are going to find some further down, some further price action to the downside. Where's the next area of support coming in? That we might find a little support here. This could be the bottom here. Let's see. Let's actually get a little place our little placeholder there. Let's actually change the color on that. There we go. There we go. Okay, so another area of support. Let's actually change this one to resistance, since this did flip over to resistance, and so this really looks like it wants some more downward action. This will be the next area of support. And again, it's just a puzzle game, right? As we do see some of these areas being broken to the downside, then we come to the next target for a possible bounce, and then the next target, and so on and so forth. But yeah, Chainlink's just looking pretty bearish at the current moment. It does look like it wants to continue to the downside. 4 hours definitely looking same way. Although 4 hour does look very bottomish. Again, this is never just in itself an indicator that things are going to turn around. We need to see other things working in its favor. This is everything's in line, saying that there's more room to the downside. Again, if we are to close this this candle here, say as a hammer, then or a doji, then that could possibly indicate that we are to turn things around. Otherwise, I do think, again, these are my next targets for a downside, especially if Bitcoin does decide to take another leg to further down. Then we are going to see continuation on these alts as well. 4 hour on Binance Coin, again breaking these previous. This was a huge area of support here, and it broke down below it. So it's definitely BNB, definitely in some dangerous territory. This will be the next area of support here that I'll be looking at, coming in at around $11.75. Okay, so we'll see what happens in the next week or so. If we actually, if the market doesn't turn around, then we are going to see these really low levels here. All right, so let's take a look at Litecoin. Pretty much same kind of deal with Litecoin, also breaking down below these previous pivots, also looking pretty bearish. Next area of support is probably going to be right around here. That's going to be our next area of support there, around 33.21. And then let's look at the RSI. Yeah, I mean, RSI is looking really bearish. I mean, look at how long it's taken. Every time it gets down there, it just kind of lags before it actually finds. It's really depending on the rest of the market. Litecoin just looks really like it doesn't have a life of its own. Like like it's really dependent on whatever the rest of the market is doing. If the market doesn't have a positive reaction, then Litecoin will definitely not try to fight it. It just depends on what everything else is doing, really. Yeah, so not a whole lot of to talk about, except that again, it's just looking very bearish at this current time. Look at the daily. Yeah. Also, another reason why I'm not too fond of looking at all these altcoins, because they all, for the most part, look very similar. Ethereum is looking like the same thing. I mean, just pretty much the same as Litecoin. I mean, just lagging and just looking very droopy and just uninterested, really. Let's look at Cardano. Cardano looks slightly better, but nothing too different. Nothing to really talk about. I mean, just having not being able to get back into the neutral zone there, looking very bearish. Does look like it wants to find more room to the downside. Same with XLM. XLM is just looking like XRP actually, and just looking to find more price action to the bottom. I mean, look at this chart though. This is pretty bad actually. Just a reminder of how it is. I mean, look at that. Just very trashy. Not something I want to be trading right now. XLM. VT is actually, looked pretty good in the last couple of weeks, actually. Could this be a double bottom? I don't know. Just depends on where this if this holds right here. If we find a bounce here, this could be a double bottom here. I don't know. Kind of. I mean, it does look like almost like a double top here. An obvious reaction is to the downside after setting a double top, but also looking like that we could find a double bottom here, especially if we hold on the 200 simple here. On the daily, this is a very big area of support. We lost the 200 EMA here, but then we could potentially find support here at the 200 simple. Things are looking pretty deep into the bear territory here, and so yeah, definitely we could potentially be turning it around from here. Just depends on what happens here and the rest of the market. EOS holding this previous pivot here, not too terribly bad. As long as we can hold that, we'll be fine. But if we can't, then we're going to come back and revisit down here. Yeah, we don't want that for EOS or any of you guys. All right, so we just went through all of these, mainly top 20 altcoins. Let's look at Teslas and then we'll wrap it up. Since we were looking at that just at the beginning of this channel. Yeah, again, just as long as it's below this line, I don't get too hyped up about it. If it does break above 177, then there could be a nice little run in the making. All right, that is on the daily. Daily's looking pretty darn bullish. Definitely finding support here at the 21 EMA. Turning things around and trying to get back into the bull territory. And if it does, again, we could potentially have a nice little run to the upside, as we do see here. Again, just a very, very bullish posture above every major moving average. So again, this is looking pretty darn good. If anything, I mean, this is where the opportunity is right here. Maybe VeChain and also Teslas. Right, that's where the opportunity. Obviously, anything in traditional markets will offer a pretty good opportunity. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard to find them in cryptocurrency markets as of right now. All right, guys. So that is it for tonight. I do want to thank you for being here. Thanks for spending your time, your evenings with me. I do appreciate it. And it is an honor to have you guys. I do want to give a quick shout out to our new subscriber. I hope I'm saying this correctly, Shibu B. Thanks for subscribing, bud. It's a pleasure to have you. And also Gary Wilson. I want to give a shout out to Gary. Thank you, Gary, for subscribing. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to have you guys both here. Please stay connected with the rest of the community. Leave your comments down below and let us know if there's anything that you'd like us to cover in the next video. So other than that, I hope you got something in return or in exchange for your time here tonight. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.